Avatar: The Last Airbender is the kind of show that needs no introduction. It is universally acclaimed and beloved for its fantastic world building, gripping plot, and memorable characters. Really one of the greatest shows of all time. It's that good. Taking all that into consideration, The Legend of Korra had a lot to live up to when first announced. And while its overall legacy is a bit more divisive, I still enjoyed my time with Korra. Again, loved the characters and world building, and spoiler alert, but when Korra got together with Asami, I think we all collectively lost our shit. I honestly could make a whole video about Korrasami and the profound implications of it all, but for now, that'll be a topic for another day. After The Legend of Korra wrapped up in 2014, it seemed like that was it. Nickelodeon was infamous for their lack of promotion on Korra, which signaled a general lack of faith in the main franchise. So, the idea that Nick would greenlight a brand new sequel series after all that was, at the time, highly unlikely. With that in mind, the fans got to work. Given that the Avatar had this whole reincarnation cycle, it was pretty easy for fans to create their own stories, their own sequels, with a brand new Avatar to lead the charge. And one of these fan sequels just so happens to be the topic of today's video, The Legend of Genji. If you're already familiar with The Legend of Genji, then you would know that it takes the form of a webcomic, posted on Webtoon and YouTube. Before I get into it though, with the story and all, I want to take a few steps back, because the history surrounding this webcomic's development is actually pretty fascinating. And who better to kick us off than the diva herself?
Hello! Welcome to the Legend of Genji YouTube channel. My name is Maki, and I'm the team lead for the Legend of Genji. We're super excited that over the last few weeks we've gotten a ton of new fans and followers, so hi!
In addition to being the team lead, Maki is the one that first created The Legend of Genji, with the idea being conceptualized as early as 2014.
When The Legend of Korra ended, I was a freshman in college. Random doodles from class turned into character design ideas, turned into characters, turned into a story, and then I was doomed because I fell in love with it.
And I find these earlier concepts really cool, like we had a Kyoshi warrior at one point. Not to mention this guy. He seemed like a core character at one point and appeared multiple times in artwork, only for him to have no presence whatsoever in the final comic. Maybe he was supposed to appear later in the plot, but him not even having a bio in the comic's WordPress site points to him being cut. If there was one thing that surprised me the most during my research, it would be the discovery that Maki made an older webcomic about Genji back in 2017. I don't know why this surprised me so much, considering that she mentioned making one in the same video, but I guess actually seeing it for the first time was a different story. You can still find a prologue and first chapter on her DeviantArt page, and I recommend giving it a read. The art of course is wonderful, and the story itself is pretty solid, hitting similar beats to its more contemporary version. Creating the comic on her own though was a challenge, so she decided to scrap it and start over, with more of a community effort in mind.
I tried to make a fan comic on my own, but it's a lot of work. Basically, I asked people on Tumblr if they wanted to join a team and make a comic with me. And then some people said yeah. It's really, really amazing to have team members from all over the world because they all bring unique perspectives, ideas, and we're learning from each other and have this collective ambition and passion and joy and just fun. The internet is amazing.
And with that, Maki assembled her team, and The Legend of Genji received a new lease on life. But now that begs the question, what is The Legend of Genji about? Well, the story's about Genji, a 17-year-old sandbender who's just trying to survive and keep a roof over his family. And while he doesn't know this now, he'll soon discover that he's actually the true successor to Korra, the Avatar. But wait, if Genji's the Avatar, then who's this guy? And why has the Earth Federation been parading him around as the Avatar for years? First question is easy, his name is Luan. But the second one isn't so obvious and is kind of one of the main mysteries surrounding the story. Another mystery is Korra herself and why she died so young. The prologue tells us that Korra's death was sudden and unexpected, but we really don't know much beyond that. Seeing Korra's loved ones at the funeral though was so sad. Aww. A very well done prologue though. Jenora's speech is voice acted and does an amazing job setting the tone. To get into the 2022 webcomic itself, we can pretty much summarize what happens in 3 separate storylines. The first one revolves around Luan and Aiko. Luan has just arrived in Ba Sing Se and greeted with a celebratory parade. News reporters try to get their questions in before Luan and his team meet with Earth Federation President Bao Jun. After that, we get this blonde diva essentially getting Luan together in preparation for tonight's party, which is really this high-profile event where the president will be announcing a treaty with the Fire Nation. And that is where Aiko comes in. She and her mom will be in attendance as ambassadors to the Fire Nation. Their relationship seems strained though, with her mom focused mainly on Aiko appearing proper, even telling Aiko to wipe her lipstick off and only get heels that are modest and not too tall so she doesn't make Luan look short. This ends up pissing Aiko off, prompting her to buy the tallest heels she could find. Aiko and Luan end up having a chill conversation while taking photos, with Luan being vague on whether he's in a relationship or not. The second storyline follows Nami's introduction to the Air Temple Island. Here, she and her dad are given a tour by Rohan before Halseng and Songtai show up. Turns out, Nami will be the Air Temple's newest acolyte, serving as protege to Jinora, Halseng's mom. We also see that Nami is spiritually gifted, being able to see spirits around her, one of which being this purple little fellow that looks to be Nami's companion. Halseng and Songtai continue the tour of Nami, showing her around the place. Nami asks the two if they're familiar with the spirits around here, but quickly finds out that they're unable to see said spirits. Last, but certainly not least, is Genji's storyline, which is set in Jinsha. We first see him on the job as a mechanic, and he's pretty good at it too, with the shop owner calling him the best sandbender mechanic he knows. Work ends up going over, which causes Genji to pick his sister Chai up from school late. Chai would rather walk home herself than wait, but there's been protests lately, which makes the walk alone more dangerous. They eventually get home and watch TV, unfortunately witnessing the Fire Ferrets lose yet another pro-bending match. Soon, their mom comes back from work and tells Chai to go to bed. Genji wants to show his mom a notice they got, but their attention pivots to the TV. Apparently, if this news station is to be trusted, student protesters have been causing havoc in the city of Omashu, which has led to a regional curfew being imposed in certain cities, including Jinsha. Genji's mom is pissed at this as she works a night shift, but Genji just tells her to get some rest. Looks like that notice from before ends up being an eviction warning. Rent is late and Genji needs cash. He tries his luck at this underground fighting ring, but is ultimately overpowered by his opponent. Despite losing the match, Genji does get an opportunity to make some money. An acquaintance of his, Malik, tells him that he just needs to deliver 2 metal cases to this group called the Red Sands. Genji accomplishes this, but then catches a glance at these glowing purple balls spilling from one of the cases. This prompts the group to give him a hard time, but they end up letting him go. Genji sneaks back home, but is caught by his mom, and she is not happy that he snuck out, especially on the first day of a curfew. The two end up getting into this pretty big argument, but a purple explosion outside interrupts everything. Something serious is going on, and before you know it, another explosion hits Genji's home. Thankfully, they're safe, but now everything is on fire, and they need to get the hell out. And that is the end of Chapter 1. One hell of a cliffhanger, if I do say so myself. But hey, at least we can look forward to the rest of the comic, right? Right? You probably saw this coming, but as much as it pains me to say this, The Legend of Genji never continued after this point. On December 24, 2022, the comic's Instagram page made the following announcement. The Legend of Genji comic project is officially ending. Before I talk more about this announcement, I actually want to touch on something. You know how I said near the beginning that it's highly unlikely for another sequel series to be renewed by Nick? Well, things have changed. In 2020, The Last Airbender made its debut on Netflix, and it blew up. Oh my goodness, it was everywhere. Newer audiences got hooked, older audiences were already hooked, so of course they were gonna watch it again. It was just a massive hit. And when Nick decided to put The Legend of Korra on Paramount Plus, viewership was also really high. All of this was the perfect storm to not only get the Avatar franchise back in the good graces of Nick, but for an entire studio to be created the following year, aptly named Avatar Studios. Basically, we'll be getting a lot more Avatar content in the coming years, which is amazing news, I'm so excited. But to connect it back to Genji, we got this bombshell of an article from Avatar News, which I remember being a credible news site. On December 22, 2022, Avatar News reported that the studio is now working on the next Avatar series, with this one being the Earth Avatar. And 2 days later, we got the news on Genji. Now, to be clear, Avatar Studios did not send a cease and desist to the Genji team or anything else of that nature. Nope, the announcement was something that the team agreed on, ultimately deciding that now was the right time. I'll let you pause if you want to read the statement in full, but the team wanted to take a step back to focus on their careers, families, higher education. Basically, they want to move on with their lives. And so, the collaborative project that spanned 4 years, with the foundations existing well before that, has now come to an end. There's always this feeling of heartbreak whenever a piece of media I really like is cancelled, and this is no exception. The Legend of Genji was something truly special. Just like its official counterparts, this fan sequel had great world building, an intriguing premise, and the promise of some amazing characters if they were given the time to be developed. There was genuine excitement behind the series. 2.1 million views on Webtoon and 230k subscribers on YouTube. This series was big. There was so much hype surrounding the project, and it's not hard to see why. You could see the effort, not just in the webcomic itself, but the extra material too. They gave us family trees, bios and descriptions on what happened to certain legacy characters, whole section on the world and how these locations fit in Genji's time. It felt like a whole production. So well thought out, almost as if they had an answer to everything. Not to mention the promise of LGBTQ plus characters and ships. It's been confirmed that Kalseng is gay, and that makes me happy because he's one of my faves. But we were supposed to get more reps. We really were. But alas, it's cancelled now. Having said all that, the people that worked on The Legend of Genji don't owe us anything. From the beginning, this has been a volunteer-based fan project. Nobody on the team made a dime working on this. It was all a labor of love, brought to us for free. So if they collectively decided to end the project, then that's that. The best we can do is to respect their decision and allow them to move on. While it is sad that we never got to see a conclusion to this webcomic, I'm just happy it existed. It brought me so many positive emotions over the years, and I'll always cherish the memories I have of it. I hope Mackie and everyone else from the team are living their best lives, and if any of you guys are watching by chance, I just want to say thank you for bringing us The Legend of Genji. Okay, I think that's a wrap. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.